Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. We continue our Louisiana Division I football previews. We have gone all around the state. We've talked to Frank Selfo. Coming up, we're talk to Michael Desimo from ULL, Frank Selfo from Southeastern. Coming up this week, in the next 2 days, we'll have Sonny Cumbie from Louisiana Tech. We'll have Terry Bowden from ULM. We will also talk to Tim Rebo from Nicholls State. So a busy next couple of days. But my favorite of all the coaches that we will chat with, the man I get to talk to on a regular basis, he is the head coach of the Northwestern State Demons. He is Brad Laird. Coach, what is up?
What's up, Patrick? How are we doing this afternoon?
Man, I'm good. Before we get into your team and what's happening, obviously I was not around. It was not on my show when you made the offer to Rogers Hampton to come be on the sideline at the Grambling game up here in Shreveport at Independence Stadium in week 2. Give me some idea of, what can I expect? Am I going to have to, is he our halftime guest? What are we doing here with Rogers potentially on that Saturday?
Well, I think we got an extra sideline voice. I think, he came to us, right? We had the opportunity this spring. He came with you, and I think on that day there was a baseball game going on, a softball game going on. I think a track meet.
Meet, yep.
And so I was able to get back and watch a little baseball with him, and we're returning the favor, coming to Shreveport. So, what better way? And I found out a lot about him as far as he's not one to get out of the house on the weekend.
No, he is not.
And so I felt since we're coming there, we've built up a good relationship, and we needed an extra some more fan support, and what better way to have him on the sideline? And how I wonder how long it's been since he's been on the sideline of a college football game.
Well, it was actually only a couple of years ago that I brought him and Dave Druda down to a Northwestern game. And they were on the sidelines for a bit. So he's got some experience there. That was at Turpin Stadium. He's also been on the sidelines at Independence Stadium in, I believe it was that Ohio game that was so cold, the Ohio ULM game. But, this is an opportunity for him. He doesn't have to go very far, which is a big deal because, like you said, getting him out of the house is a task. When I brought him down there, I had to have an entire Yeti full of Budweiser, almost like I was dropping bread crumbs for Hansel and Gretel in the woods. Like I had to basically lure him out of the house with a Budweiser to get him in the truck and then just keep Budweiser in his hands on the way down there. So it does take a little bit. Now here, I've got an idea for you.
Hey, now we're going to have to stay away from that on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, if he wears a coaching hat that just happens to be one of those that has the 2 beer cans in it, we'll just put a Northwestern logo on it so it doesn't look as conspicuous. But I have an idea for you, Coach. I think you need to talk to your new offensive coordinator, Cody Krill. And I think you need to put in the Grisham Reverse for the Grambling game. So when Rogers was the running back at Friendship Academy, one of their favorite plays, or one of his favorite plays, was the Grisham Reverse, which is named after my kinfolk, Billy Grisham, who drew it up. Now, it's called a reverse. It's really more like an inside counter, like an H-back counter kind of thing. He would get behind the right tackle and hide, and he'd come back across and, take the ball around the left side. So it's almost like a counter sweep with an H-back kind of thing with a fake going to the right. Can y'all put that in and let just Rogers randomly yell Grisham Reverse at you at some point?
And if we score on it, what does he do?
Probably runs on the field and gets thrown out of the game, I'm guessing.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, at that point,
it may be worth it.
Hey, I mean, look, it's, look, if he calls Grisham Reverse and it's score, and look, the reason it worked is because Rogers is a diminutive guy. He's not a big dude, so he could kind of hide behind the offensive line as sort of an H-back. I mean, look, Scooter Adams is only 5'9", so it's not like Scooter, Scooter could get behind a big right tackle and hide a little bit. I think it could work.
I was about to say, that sounds like a good play for me.
Yeah. The problem is you had to have speed. You know, that
Yeah, you're right.
Rogers had speed. You know, that was his one thing he did have. Hey, speaking of, obviously the main thing that happened, or kind of the major storyline going into this fall camp, is a lot of new coaches on the staff with you, new coordinators, new position coaches. Cody Krill comes over as your offensive coordinator from UIW, where he coached a couple of freshman QBs that had amazing seasons. Meanwhile, Weston Glosser comes over from Campbell, where he's had some great success. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball with Coach Krill. Tell me what you've seen from that group, and kind of what your excitement level is with what he's bringing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, what he's done speaks for itself. You know, no matter if that was at UIW or that was at Navarro, where he was the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what he's been able to do offensively. You know, that's what I think, the excitement to be able to bring that in, and just the different tempo, the different level of excitement of our guys. And, you know, it's anytime you have new coaches and new schemes, you know, sometimes those seniors, they feel like they're a freshman again, you know, because they're learning the system. They're eager to get out there, and, you know, especially with the success that Coach Krill and that staff has had. But I tell you, it's been fun to watch. You know, our guys have done a great job of picking it up, and the coaches have done a great job of installing it, and continuing to put things in, and trying to, you know, put the pieces in the puzzle, because you have, when you look offensively, and I know we'll get to the quarterback position.
Oh yes,
but,
you know we will.
But when you look at, you know, there's, you know, 4 older, experienced receivers that were not here in the spring, and then you add that with the Javon that wasn't with us last year,
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the guys returning. It's, you know, fitting them in to what best fits them, and going to help us offensively, and then running back and tight ends, you know, because Scooter, you know, after missing 8 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
But not just a running back, he's able to do a lot of things catching the ball, and so getting him in the mix, and what Coach Krill's doing with him, and then, you know, we got LC that we moved to tight end, and you know, we signed a transfer at tight end, and just watching what he's been able to do with those 2 guys, and different formations, and lining up guys in different spots. I tell you, it's been fun to watch, and our guys have done a great job picking it up.
You mentioned quarterback. Obviously, that's where any discussion always starts. Zach Clement, who has had a lot of experience back. Caleb Fletcher, who's had a lot of experience back. You also have a couple of transfers in, one from Kansas, one from Jacksonville State, which has always been a very powerful squad as well. Give me some idea of what that quarterback depth chart is looking like.
Yeah, it's you know, we had day practice 7 this morning, and, you know, it's changed daily. You know, we felt like, you know, leading into Saturday, we got a scrimmage Saturday morning, basically kind of rotating that thing around, letting those guys work with 1s and 2s, and you know, as we get through the scrimmage on Saturday, to hope that thing kind of clears up a little bit, you know, as we go into the next, you know, couple of weeks, you know, trying to hone in on a couple of guys, or one guy may just take the lead and run with it. And so, you know, you got 2 guys that were not here in the spring that are continuing to learn the system, and, you know, Fletcher and Zach, you know, were here in the spring, so, you know, got a little leg up when it comes to understanding the offense. But, you know, those 4 guys are battling it out. You know, good competition, and you know, they all have their own niche of what they do better, and that's been fun to watch how Coach Krill and the offensive staff has kind of, you know, played to their strengths a little bit.
You mentioned having Javon Antonio back. He had a huge year a couple of years ago, sat out last year with academics, and I think he is an interesting case, Brad, because in this day and age of transfer portal and guys being able to move when they want to move, and, you know, almost kind of a free agency in college football, I find it refreshing and kind of rare to see a kid that says, you know what, I'm going to sit out. I'm going to take my medicine, so to speak, and I'm not going to be mad because, you know, it was my issue with academics. And yet he takes his medicine. He sits out the year that he had to sit out, and he comes back. I feel like that's a pretty rare thing in college football these days.
And I got a lot of respect for Javon Antonio. You know, it was a tough conversation after that spring semester. You know, you kind of referred to it a little bit. That was kind of his, I would say, breakout year. I guess his first year here, and towards the end of that season, what he did. And then to get in the situation that he was in. But he was, you know, last fall, you know, our scout team receiver. And you think about him being a scout team receiver.
Those poor DBs.
Yeah, they were ready to get to Saturdays and not see him again. But I tell you, he came to work every day, and he really showed what he was about. And my respect level really grew from him watching that. And, you know, just what he's done in the spring and what he's done so far in fall camp is, I tell you, it's fun to watch. He's as good as there is in the conference, as good as there is in the country. His ability to make plays, he wants to practice. He wants to block. He wants the ball, just like all receivers do. But he doesn't take a play off. And excited to have him back and watch what he can do this season. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, Brad, he's a kid you put on the front of every poster, right? Like that. I mean, that is, to me, that is what being a stand-up guy is all about, is what Javon Antonio's gone through. He's an easy guy to root for because he's one of those examples of not running from your own mistakes. And I love that. I think that is such a powerful message to be able to send to other people to say, look, yes, I messed up. I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to go through it and come out better on the other side. I find that to be just absolutely refreshing and wonderful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's tough to do. You know, I'd say it's tough for some people to, like you said, accept it and do something about it instead of walking away from it. And that was his. And I'll tell you, from day one, that was his. And I told him, I said, we're going to back you. I'm going to back you, but you're the one that's going to have to get this thing fixed. And he did. And you know, and more so, you know, he had over a 3.0 GPA. But you know, take away the academic part of it, just, you know, who he was as a person, and you know, how he went about his business, and didn't hide from it. And that's the thing that I respect about it.
Talking to Brad Laird, head coach of the Northwestern State Demons. All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Another first-year coordinator for you, Weston Glosser. And until I really started getting into, you know, I'd heard, hey, this is a guy that's going to man you up. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to come after you, high blitz percentage, all of that. And I thought, man, he sure does sound a lot like Scott Stoker, the former Demon quarterback, former Demon defensive coordinator, former Demon head coach, who's been around the business forever and ever, only to find out that he's coached and played under Scott Stoker at multiple places. So I guess that the apple really doesn't fall that far from the tree.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because and Coach Krill was the same way. I had in the circle knew who they were and coached against them, but never with them. And, you know, so when Coach Glosser, me and him first started talking and the terminology, and because I learned everything from Scott Stoker, as you well know.
Sure.
And so did a lot Coach Glosser did. And so, you know, a lot of the same terminology, and it was fun to watch. And, you know, the thing with both of those guys, they're both competitive, but both very aggressive. You know, I mean, they're both very similar. And Coach Krill is aggressive offensively, aggressive play calling, and what he wants to do. And Coach Glosser's the same way. And man, our guys have bought into it, love it. You know, practices can get, you know, they can get heated. We're competitive, the coaches, players, and you know, it's fun to watch. But I think defensively, I'm gonna stay on that side of the ball. A lot more experience back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, compared to offensively. You know, we've got some guys that have played a lot of games in the Southern Conference and for Northwestern State. And I think, you know, so when you look at the newcomers that we brought in, you know, you see more on the offensive side, some spots we needed to fix. But defensively, we did add some, and we've got, like Johnny Mitchell up front, got him back that was not able to play last year. So the experience that we have defensively combined with, a few guys that we added, we're looking forward to see how they progress in the new scheme.
Well, and especially on that back end, P.J. Harrington, Shamar Bartholomew. I mean, you've got some guys back there that are absolute studs that you can rely on that back end. William Hooper being one of those guys. You've got some guys back there.
Yeah, I think that's really, defensively or really anywhere on our team. Patrick, the back end has the most experience, and I mean, you look at corner, and you talked about Hooper and Shamar Bartholomew, but Trey Williams and Seth Anderson have played a lot of snaps the last several years, and then you go to safety with PJ and Keenan Leachman, those two guys that have played a lot of snaps. So that was the safety spot we did bring in. We added 3 guys that are new that were not with us last fall at the safety spot because we felt like, we needed guys either to come in and play or come in and provide depth in the back end.
Well, and especially because you'll be switching schemes slightly, going from at one point you were a 4-3, then to a 3-4, and now at one point you were a 3-3. Now you're going back to, again, referencing Scott Stoker, you're going back to a 4-2-5, which requires that extra safety to be in there, and he's got to be a guy that can play the run and the pass. Is there a comfort level there? You mentioned, that's a defense that you learned under Scott Stoker when you switched over to the defensive side of the ball. Glosser learned the same thing under Scott Stoker. Is there sort of a comfort level with that 4-2-5 coming back?
It is. Yeah, I mean, it is. Something that the only thing that I did, my years of coaching on the defensive side of the ball was in that scheme. So, when you hear the same terminology and you're able to kind of, see the picture and help, when it comes to not really scheming, but just being able to coach and seeing the same thing that Coach Glosser does, and with that scheme, Patrick, we've moved some guys around. Joe Mark Valson is, the last couple of years, the success that he's had as kind of that outside linebacker. Now he's gonna move up a little closer to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to be a stand-up guy that Coach Glosser's done a lot with. And actually, he'll be on one side, and Isaiah Longino, who was second in the conference and second in tackle for losses in the conference last year, he's going to be on the other side. And so, both of those guys are former linebackers. Isaiah was, and, now he's at defensive end. So, being able to, to bring those guys, drop those guys, do a lot of different things is going to be exciting to watch.
Obviously, the transfer portal has changed things in regards to how you build your roster. You're a perfect example of that. A lot of newcomers this year, a lot of new guys that you brought in to plug some holes. And then obviously the transfer portal works the opposite way. Maybe a kid that goes unheralded, has a lot of success, and then he decides he wants to move up. For an FCS level program, what does the transfer portal, but obviously more specifically the ability to not have to sit out when you transfer, that was already the case if you were moving down from the FBS level to the FCS level, but now the opportunity to get an FCS product from somewhere else. What is this meant to be able, for you to be able to kind of transform your roster on a yearly basis?
Well, this is really the first time that, when you look at the amount of, newcomers that we've had, we've never had this many. And, there was some holes that we needed to fill, and we needed to fill it with older guys. That's the thing. And I think after this year, you're going to see us get more to where, because we only had 6 older guys that were graduated that we needed to replace with true freshmen. Because you got to be careful with your roster because you don't want too many older guys or too many younger guys. And so, that was kind of the reason we had to do what we did. Now, as we get through this year, I think you're going to start seeing it clear back up for us. Everybody's different, but we'll have that 16 to 18 guys that have no more eligibility left. I'm not going to say graduate, because a lot of those guys have already graduated and starting their masters.
Right.
But about 16 to 18 guys that do not have any eligibility left, that we want to replace them with high school, and we want to still recruit high school.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we determine the number of high school kids that we're going to take. So you're going to see that number jump back up to us how it has been in the past. Closer to 20 high school kids that we sign. Anybody,
let's say freshman wise, youngsters, not necessarily transfers who you expect to come in and have an impact. Any freshmen that have surprised you in the early going?
Yeah, I tell you, receiver was a big spot for us that we needed to find guys to come in and play, which we did that with, bringing in some older guys, getting Javon back. But Hogan Watson, I tell you, he has he's jumped out and really made some plays. Good route runner. He's picked up the scheme. He's going to be one that's going to play. He's going to play at receiver, and also on special teams. And we are pretty loaded. I say loaded. Have a lot of older guys at running back, but London Williams, I tell you, he's really come in and showed what we saw in high school.
Yeah, and that's a Manny kid, by the way. For those that don't know,
yeah.
that's a Manny high school guy.
Yeah, he really come in and showed that there is a lot of depth there. And then one that hasn't played, and not a true freshman, but a freshman that had to get eligible. Johnny Mitchell from North DeSoto is going to be a young one that was not able to play last year. So he's picked it up and going to be able to help us defensively.
Final thing, Coach, let's talk special teams. Obviously, your punter is near and dear to our hearts up here in Shreveport, Scotty Roblo, Eddie Gadina. Give us an indication of where we're at in terms of special teams.
Yeah, Scotty, man, he had a good day today. It was, had couple different schemes punt-wise. This morning, and what he's been able to do the last couple of years to be able to field position. We know how key field position is in the course of a 60-minute game, and he can flip the field in a hurry. And it was good to watch him do that again this morning. And Eddie, we just the things from a special team perspective, especially at field goal, we got to get some consistency there inside of 40 yards. We get the opportunity to get 3. We need to get 3. And Eddie has the ability to do that. Andrew Barnhill is a true freshman. Talking about true freshman that's going to come in and play right now. He's our deep snapper, and he's from Evangel.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be one that's going to come in, and his first snap, whether it's going to be a punt or extra point or field goal, is going to be at Montana. So we're making sure he's ready to go.
Speaking of that, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the whole McNeese situation. A lot of old heads for Northwestern State are real upset about this, that first time in 70 years that you haven't played McNeese. I've kind of countered with, well, you got an extra McNeese game there in the last, 8 months, whatever it's been. You've played them 3 times, basically in 2 years. So it's not like you missed a game, but the conference had to come back with UIW deciding not to leave, with Lamar deciding to come in early. Conference had to rework the schedule. I know from talking to the conference people, they did everything they could to figure out a way for Northwestern and McNeese to play. It just didn't work with all the rest of the games. I'm sure it's a disappointment for you, but as I've told everyone, you broke the string. No one had won in Cowboy Stadium since 1988. You won there to end last season. Now you just have an extra year of bragging rights.
Yeah, but heck, we get greedy,
Sure.
Want to do it again. And but initially, the initial part when that came out, I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't upset, because that's a game that. As a former player that played against them, and I've coached here several different times, that's a game that I know a lot of people that support Northwestern and McNeese circle that one when they see it on the calendar, and I understand that, and that's what makes it tough. And but it's we've moved on. We did get that extra game, but like I said, we're greedy. We'd like to play them 4 times in that 8-month span. That's just who we are. But it's that streak will get back next year, and we'll get back to playing them then.
Coach, obviously you start off with Montana. That's it's not an easy place to go play. Just your thoughts on opening the season at a team that is ranked either 2nd or 3rd in the preseason polls, and it is and I've been there twice, and it is a very, very hostile environment.
I think it's going to be great. I tell you, that's what I want our guys to get on that plane and fly out there and see what it's about. That's where we want to be in December, and the good thing about us, we're going to play this game in September, and then once December gets here and we get to hop on a plane and go somewhere else, our guys have experienced that, and so that's, you're playing it's going to be a top 5 team, and, you look at atmospheres, which I've been there a couple of times just like you.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were top 5 also in their crowd, their attendance, and so we know what to expect, and you find out right out the gate what type of football team you have, and so our guys are looking forward to it. It's going to be a great trip.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And, of course, we're looking forward to week 2 when Rogers Hampton is down on the sidelines at Independence Stadium with your team running out running out of the locker room with them and in the locker room with them. We're looking forward to all of that with our boy Hambone being down there with you. Brad, always a pleasure, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. I'll be down there for the scrimmage. And by the way, I'll come down there with the diagram of the Grisham Reverse so you guys can start practicing it.
Well, appreciate it. I'll let Coach Krill look at that.
Yeah. Brad, always a pleasure, my friend. See you Saturday.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Brad Laird, head coach of the Northwestern State Demons. Going to run the Grisham Reverse.